I tell you, I can become flabbergasted daily when I try to explain facts that can be verified to people in my family, one of which has graduated college and will do their very best to regurgitate anything and everything they can remember. All material which they instantaneously believed and filed away in memory to regurgitate. Now, I told my sister that, did you know they say the weight of a small car is pressing down on us, i.e., 14.7 psi? And she tried to act like she was, aware of this. I'm sure she went to Google and verified what I said. And surely enough, we are taught that the weight of a small automobile, 14.7 pounds per square inch, is weighing down on us at all times. But this is bearable and not recognizable because our bodies, an adult male and female, produce enough outward pressure to equalize or cancel out the weight of a small car pressing down on us. So much that we don't even notice. That to me is ridiculous. Okay? If you think about it, if you try doing that for 1 minute, you will agree that that is absurd. Okay? We got pressure in us, yes. Blood pressure. And I would say that that blood is being pushed in all directions, contained within your vein, and it is flowing at the direction of your heart. Now, if you want to take a deep breath and hold your breath in your lungs, there might be some pressure there too, but not enough to move a feather next to you. If you stand next to a propane tank with a feather, nothing within that tank is going to influence the feather because it is contained. Okay, it cannot, the pressure within that container cannot influence anything outside of the container. This is material we can demonstrate. Now, outside you can stand and watch clouds float by at 10 miles an hour at 1,000 feet, and 500 feet higher than that, another band moving in the opposite direction, faster or slower. We feel wind at 5 and 10 miles an hour. We don't feel anything pressing down on us. Okay? If you wanted to be more certain, I would say that the human body would have to produce the exact same amount or more to equalize or cancel out the weight of a small car pressing down on us at all times. I would ask, what about a newborn baby? How do they, in their newborn bodies, produce the same amount of outward pressure that an adult male or female does? It is ridiculous. Then you can say, well, what about a flower? How do they produce enough outward pressure to equalize or cancel out the weight of a small car, 14.7 pounds per square inch, weighing down on them, psi? You go to Google, and you must be ready always to instantaneously believe everything they say, for they count on that, and they will tell you that the flower has evolved. The simple answer is it has evolved to withstand such pressure. And you can believe that, but then you can go out and with a small tap, you can move the flower with your finger. And it hasn't evolved to resist that, but it can resist the weight of a small car, 14.7 psi weighing down on it. That makes no sense. Okay, now you cannot use a theory to prove a fact that they're trying to say that this much pressure is pushing down on us. You could not go to court and convict another individual of a crime based on your theoretical belief. Okay? At best, that would be circumstantial. It is not direct evidence. If you are trying to ID someone, it must, for a lawful conviction, it must be 100%. It cannot be theoretical or a theory or 50% or 60, 70, 80. It cannot be that. It has to be 100%. You have to be certain. No theoretical, circumstantial material is allowed in the courthouse. When it is, and it is sometimes allowed, you usually can overturn it in the appeals court, who go by facts in the law, every element. If you apply that nature to what we're taught, there are many, many absurdities like 14.7 pounds psi, the weight of a small car, pushing down on us, and that our bodies somehow produce an outward opposite pressure to equalize or cancel it out so that we don't even know it. Okay? That is absolutely ignorant. Okay? The human body does not produce that much pressure in an outward manner. We are contained. We are containers of everything that is within us. Okay? And the only influence I believe you could have on another object or person is static electricity, or the force of you hitting them willingly in their mouth or drop kick or whatever you want to do. Other than that, there is no invisible pressure escaping you, okay? Like boiling a tea kettle. All that gas goes up in all different directions. Gravity does not pull it back down. They teach that you could argue that the earth is a contained environment, but they will tell you it's not. And they will tell you that gas, oxygen can form a pressure gradient with no container. And their evidence? Well, go outside and look around. We live on a giant ball, and gravity pulls it all back down, and that's the barrier. They won't use that word, but they'll say that's how this all works. And that's ridiculous. Okay, because we have Boyle's law, we have Avogadro's gas law, Boyle's gas law, and we have the second law of thermodynamics, entropy, which they all acknowledge, they all validate, but they sweep it under the rug in the hopes that you do not equate or relate these facts to the reality we are taught. Okay? We are taught absurdities. Okay? Gas, oxygen will immediately fill in an instantaneous manner any available volume. Now you can say that a vacuum does nothing, that it's all the gas and the oxygen doing the work and filling the volume. Go ahead. Knock yourself out. I'll say the vacuum does do work and it sucks it in. But either way, gas, oxygen cannot exist alongside a vacuum. Definitely not an infinite, expanding vacuum universe. They cannot exist alongside of each other without a barrier. Okay? If there's no barrier, this can be shown that the gas will fill the available volume instantaneously. Okay, and these facts are within Boyle's and Avogadro's gas law. You can look up and see that gas disperses in all directions. It is not pulled down. When you boil a tea kettle, the steam escapes the tea kettle and goes and disperses in all directions. Okay? And if you want to say that all that steam escaping has the same mass that it did while bonded and in liquid form, I'd say you're nuts. I'd say you're instantaneously believing what they tell you. Okay? Because once that phase change happens, it all becomes unbonded, independent, individual, and each, if you want to call it a molecule of water and gas vapor, all go in their own separate direction, no longer possessing mass or enough mass to weigh or to have weight, because they float away, they disperse in all directions. Okay? They don't come back down to the earth. It doesn't leave the tea kettle and go down. It goes up and in all directions. So we are taught very erroneous lies about our world. They do this in a mathematical manner based on philosophical beliefs, and it is almost impossible to get a lot of people to understand this based on fact. There is in no way the weight of a small car pressing down on us. Okay, we'd be dead. Okay, the reason why we do have a pressure gradient is because the system we live in is contained. Okay, the gas and oxygen do not escape into a vacuum because there's a barrier that stops the gas and oxygen from going anywhere. Second, there is no vacuum. Outer space cannot be an infinite expanding vacuum. There are many, many problems with that. Okay, the first one being that we'd be dead because we'd have no gas. We'd have no oxygen on the earth. It would fill an infinite vacuum immediately. There would be no way to keep air or gas contained on the earth without a contained environment stopping it from being sucked into the vacuum or it itself flowing into available volume the way we see it on earth, the way we see this occur. Second is, I would like for you to explain to me how an infinite vacuum universe expands and creates new areas of time, space, and matter. How does a vacuum do that? By expanding. Would you care to explain that? You can't. And I know why you can't, because they don't teach you that. They just tell you what it is, and you are to instantaneously believe it. I've checked, I've researched how does an infinite vacuum universe, through their redshift artist rendering garbage, create new areas of time, space, and matter for the universe to get bigger. Because they say it suffers inflation from the Big Bang and it's expanding, and they show people redshift, which are artist renderings, and tell you this is so. We are taught fantastical lies that contradict real and demonstrable law. Okay? People want to tell me gravity's a law. No, it's not. In another video, I show you, if you Google what don't we know about gravity, you will be greeted the number one and first hit out of a million. The number one answer is, however, if we are to be honest, we do not know what gravity is in any fundamental way. Then they go on to contradict themselves. We only know how it behaves, which is a blatant contradiction. You cannot describe how something behaves after you've said you don't know what it is in any fundamental way. At least you should go and define what fundamental means and study that word. It's very important, that word, fundamental. We do not know what gravity is in any fundamental way. Therefore, you put a period and you say no more. Because it's all what you think, it's all theory. You can't demonstrate it. And you have dumbed down an entire world in a systematic manner by showing them a rock fall, which you first picked up. It was not falling. You picked it up. And because that rock is more dense than its surrounding air, it will fall through it until it meets something that can contain, that can hold it, that can stop it from falling, which is the ground. Okay, the air is too thin, the rock is denser, and it'll fall through it. But this is not what naturally occurs. You have to physically go and pick the rock up. You disturb its natural state. On the earth, it is a part of the earth. Okay? And its natural state is not to fall. We disturb the rock, pick it up, and then drop it, and then try to ascribe laws to it that can't be demonstrated. You do know gravity is a theory. You do know that they no longer follow Newtonian gravity, but now they follow Einstein. 90% of the people who try to defend gravity don't even know that the garbage they're defending has been discarded, and now they go with the alleged curvature of the fabric of space-time created by objects of great mass, like a planet or a star pushing down on the fabric of space-time, they call it. thinner than air, more thinner than nothing, which they say the vacuum is, that there's some substance there that the Earth's mass is pushing down on, creating a force or a current that draws everything to the center of that object, pushing down on the fabric of space-time, which is malarkey. It is ignorant. It suffers the same fatality. You cannot directly detect gravity itself. Okay, the key word is itself. You can only use alleged effects or results. You can't isolate or identify gravity itself through any known means of propagation of current, field, wave, beam, ray, or particle. Gravity itself has never been directly detected. It has never been isolated. It has never been harnessed. Movies that say turn on the gravity, artificial gravity, those are all lies. Science fiction, which is what our reality is based on. They copy science fiction all the time. Like The Wandering Earth, I seen 4 years ago. Now, you can go Fox CNN article, science wants to move the Earth, Sun, solar system to another region of space to avoid killer asteroids. They're copying the movie The Wandering Earth, which was very good. I know it's BS, but it was entertaining. I still like space movies, even though I know it's all fake. They show thrust coming out of the back of the X-Wing fighter, and that could not happen. You cannot move forward. There's nothing for that fire coming out of the fuselage, the thrust to press against. Planes fly through the air because they push against the air to get a forward momentum and lift, aerodynamic lift with the nose to keep the nose in the correct orientation, direction of travel. There's none of that in an infinite vacuum universe. Nothing to keep the nose up, nothing for the fuselage or thrust to push off of. You can argue, oh, the fuel has its oxygen, it has oxygen in it. So what? It doesn't have anything to push off. Don't show me a guy on a skateboard throwing a bowling ball away, because that is on Earth. The skateboard wheels are on the ground, and that is not what is occurring in outer space. You are not demonstrating anything similar to outer space, a vacuum with no substance for the wheels of the skateboard to grab onto, to roll on. Okay? You can't. That's the stupidest rebuttal I've ever heard. You can't use a skateboard. The skateboard is on substance, present substance of the street. That's how the wheels roll. They have something to roll on. They could never do that in outer space that we are told and taught is real. There's nothing for the wheels to grasp. There's nothing for thrust to push off of. Okay? We push off air. Birds flap their wings on the air for lift. It's not just an exercise they do when they float away. They use their wings to use the air to flap and fly through it. We are taught erroneous lies, terrible lies. And Louis Elizondo, he knows this. He's getting a lot of fame preaching about aliens and that he worked in a certain sector, blah, blah, blah. The only truth he's ever told is that a higher official told him we know what they are, which they are demonic entities impersonating aliens. There are no other worlds. The earth is special. We are superior to all life. That's why in Psalms, and Jesus said, ye are gods, because the man is a form of a god amongst all other life on the earth. We are superior. There is no other life out there in the sky you look up at, and the earth itself is not within that sky you look up at. The earth is the floor of everything you look up at. Okay, what you look up at is the ceiling, and it does not go on forever. It cannot. It cannot be an infinite vacuum universe per any reasonable scale. The earth would be smaller than a grain of sand within an infinite vacuum expanding universe. And no force or occurrence of gravity or of any electromagnetic nature, any known force or occurrence could withstand an infinite expanding vacuum universe. All the gas and oxygen on the earth would fill or be sucked into that available volume, and we'd be dead. We wouldn't be here. We'd have nothing to breathe. And I'm sure if you went to Google and they said if the Earth did leave the Earth, some of us would live because we'd evolve to adapt to it, and you'd instantaneously believe it, because that's the true definition of artificial intelligence. Okay, I don't believe in artificial intelligence, only to the degree of the people who do believe in quantum physics and the lies thereof produced from the lies of quantum physics and D-Wave and all that garbage that cannot be demonstrated. And CERN and NASA rob the taxpayer of billions. I said billions, not millions. They rob us of billions. NASA alone gets 19 billion a year to shoot a rocket that never goes straight up. It goes up and it does an arc and flies back down out of view over water always. It is just a semi-expensive firework. They never go straight up, and you will remember and recall that the fastest way between 2 points is a straight line. Escape velocity is a big blatant excuse, and people fall for it. I'm out of time.